You remember the story about David and Goliath, right? The giant Goliath was killed by a rock from David's slingshot. Well, my great-great-grandfather, William Jordan Flake, was so good at throwing rocks that he probably could have done the same thing. Even though Flake almost never carried a gun, the local sheriff depended on Flake and his rocks to help keep outlaws and drunks under control. They feared his rocks more than a bullet. In the life of this one man, we can find all the elements of old Arizona history: colonizing of new areas, cattle ranching, hard work, and love for one's fellow men. William Jordan Flake didn't always live in Arizona. He moved here from Utah in 1877 with his family and livestock. In July 1878, he bought a ranch in northern Arizona from a man named James Stinson and paid for it with cattle. The ranch had a large crop of growing corn, and Flake bought the corn too, knowing that the people coming to live there would need something to eat. Stinson warned Flake that there was only water enough for one family, but Flake believed that there would be enough water for a town. He welcomed other families to live there, and many came, and there was enough water for all. The town was named Snowflake, a combination of Flake's name and that of Erastus Snow, a visiting religious leader. After founding Snowflake, Flake made a living as a cattle rancher. Cattle ranching was an important part of Arizona history. By about 1890, over 1.5 million cattle roamed the state. Among these were Flake's herds. He increased his cattle herds by bringing in cattle from Utah and New Mexico in large cattle drives. Livestock theft was a problem in Arizona for Flake and many other cattlemen. Flake could accurately identify stolen horses and cattle, and sometimes testified in trials of rustlers. Rustling wasn't the only problem cattle ranchers had. Sometimes when they sold or traded livestock, disputes arose about the terms of the agreement. Once, Flake was delivering some stock to a man named Saul Barth, and Barth got upset about some of the animals. Flake's son Osmer wrote what happened. Barth was a small man, but he pulled out his gun and said, "Colts make all men equal." Father said, "Colts can't make a man out of you. I was not born in the woods to be scared by a coyote." Saul put his gun back, and his brother Morris told him to behave, that Flake was living up to the contract. Getting a town started and raising cattle in the Old West required lots of hard work, and Flake donated many hours and resources to both. He laid out the town of Snowflake and organized the distribution of lots. There was no school nearby, so he opened a school in his own home and paid the teacher himself. In those days, cattle were a form of currency, so Flake raised sheep to trade for cattle. Then he traded cattle for resources the new town of Snowflake needed, including a wheat farm and a sawmill. You may think that a man with heavy ranching and colonizing responsibilities might be tough and stern, but that was not the case. William Jordan Flake was kind and generous to others always. When the town was new, newcomers were housed with the Flake family, even though their family was large and the home small. He loaned money on very easy terms to those who needed to buy land, and if the families were exceptionally poor, he gave them land for free. My mother, Gloria Wilcox, told me that annually, Flake would go through his books and cross out loans made to people who he knew couldn't pay. My great-great-grandfather, William Jordan Flake, holds a valued place in Arizona history. Today, I shared with you that he founded Snowflake and was a successful cattle rancher, and that he was hardworking and charitable. When William Jordan Flake was in his late 80s, a newspaper man wrote of him, "He bought ranches and made them towns."